So in this demo, we're going to talk about Viva Connection and really focused on bring your own quick view with HTML support capability. Bring your HTML capabilities on the Viva Connection. AC is with the SPFx. A lot of abbreviation, but what it means is that we're able to use SharePoint framework to extend the Microsoft Viva Connection, which is our employee experiences platform, which is, by the way, getting integrated with Copilot, Copilot Studio, and all of that stuff. There's beautiful stuff in the roadmap, getting more and more ready with the integrations across the different stacks and all of that. But at this time, we're going to talk about the 1.20 preview feature, which is going to be in the SharePoint Framework 1.20 around that HTML support. I will go to a bit more detail on what it means in practice in a second. Because I wanted to do a quick intro, what on earth is that Viva Connection? What does it actually provide? Where do we actually, why would you want to care? And how it's being positioned with the SharePoint intranets and all of that. So we, from a Microsoft side, we kind of think this as an employee communication and community platform, so to say, as part of the Microsoft Viva employee experience platform. And that kind of consists from Viva Connection, Viva Amplify, Viva Engage, and SharePoint. And all of those different four pieces have their own responsibility and value within this pie. And of course, on top of that, we have Microsoft Teams, because all of these functionalities are actually running within the Microsoft Teams. We have Copilot, because all of these functionalities actually talks with Copilot as well. And you can use Copilot within all of these functionalities as well, sooner or later. So there's a lot of kind of this overlapping between the functionalities, and it's not either or, it's always understanding what are these things actually doing all up. Now, in the case of Viva Connection, this is our communication channel. So really about the people-centered and branded employee experiences, and really thinking this from an individual user perspective. So you can imagine the intranet being for corporate communications primarily, for all the same messages for everybody within a company, and then the Viva Connection is more the personally branded tooling, relevant task for me, whatever I want to get access from my personal perspective. So you can go to Viva Connection, and then you can see the relevant tools and apps for you. You can it can be customized for your organization. You can do branding, all of that stuff. That's a pretty low level of branding, but nice blue background on the pictures. And then it's personalized for the individual. So we can target individual capabilities and functionalities across all of the different devices based on the user role, where they're based on what their responsibilities are. From a work perspective, we can actually surface really easily different functionalities for different capabilities. So that's really the primary objective of Viva Connection. And we're also using the Viva Connection as the way of getting access on the corporate news super easily. Because you can imagine that you, especially in frontline worker scenarios, you are using your mobile, you don't get access, you don't necessarily sit in front of the desktop. Getting up to date on what's happening within the company might be difficult, but getting those notifications within your mobile that, hey, there's now a corporate news coming, please check out the latest on X and Y and Z, is really the key, one of the key scenarios for Viva Connection as well. Now, from a positioning perspective, something which might have heard in the past, but good to recap as well, the SharePoint is really the pixel perfect storytelling for your company. And there's a lot of innovation on SharePoint side. And then you can surface that SharePoint, for example, in Microsoft Teams, of course. You can do Copilot inside of SharePoint. You can make it look like whatever you want from a branding perspective. But it's really about the entire company. So that's really the home side of the company. And then again, the Viva Connection is the personal. What is it for me? My personal view to the company, my payslips, my relevant task for me, my relevant tools, my relevant day-to-day things, what I'm expected to actually do, can be found easily directly within the connection, which can be personalized in a user perspective. Now, we can, of course, make the Viva Connection look like whatever we want. There's a lot of different options, extensibility options, branding options. All of the different devices are adapting on those branding as well. And depending on a industry where you are, you can imagine different kind of scenarios within the different devices, between the different layouts. So a lot of interesting opportunities in here for frontline workers, and why not for desktop workers as well. Now, from a technical implementation perspective and extensibility perspective, we kind of have three models on the card implementation. And here we're going to talk about something new, which we're working on in the future, which I don't think we have publicly even mentioned. So, of course, we have the no-code options, linking Teams application, Power Apps, all of that stuff directly within the Viva Connection in that dashboard, which is actually a quite common scenario. People want to access the top 5 Power Apps easily from one centralized location. it's actually pretty cool. You can go to Microsoft Teams, just access them directly, easily from this centralized dashboard, and then getting access on company information within the same view as well, which is really, really cool. Now, we also have the low-code functionalities. In here, there's a lot of investments in the low-code side. Of course, the low-code is not excluding pro-code, but again, it's a great option to do in-house development, so extensibility directly within the in-house, because that's typically how the low-code works. So you can do static adaptive cards, but static is not that nice. You can do advanced API support for static adaptive cards, so you can hit graph APIs, all of that stuff, or SharePoint APIs, which makes those cards to be dynamic, so you can actually make them react based on the information what we have in the company. Or in the future, you can actually do Power Cards support here as well, so you can actually tag on any Power Card which is created, you can actually surface those directly within any device within a Viva connection. And we're working also on a Copilot Studio support, which was already demoed in Build this spring. So you can actually publish your Copilot Studio UXs directly within a Viva connection as individual cards and quick views and all of that. And then we have the third option, which is Pro Developer option, where we're using SharePoint Framework. And this is really the option where you can actually package your code as a reusable asset, put it in store, or you can sell it to companies, you can sell it to other people, you can do DevOps, you can do test and QA and production environment separately and all of that. So that's a pro developer storytelling, a lot of opportunities and investments on that side as well. Now today we're going to focus on pro dev scenario, which is the HTML quick views, and that's actually enabling us to use not just adaptive cards, but also HTML or JavaScript or whatever you want directly within inside of the quick view. Quick view is the one which is being presented when you click or initiate the card view. And of course, this works in any device, any experience as well. So in iPad, iOS, Android, all of that in a right way. Now, it's kind of it's now that I'm actually seeing those words on the screen, because I wrote them earlier today, but I didn't think about it. So the extension name is adaptive card extension, but then we are using HTML with adaptive card. Now, the card view, which is the smaller view on the background, which is in here, that's still adaptive card rendering. But then in our case, we're now able to take much more advanced scenarios into use in that quick view. You can, for example, imagine to reuse your React components directly within ACE as a quick view, so that you're able to use the same React components as a web part or as a card view, depending on where people are accessing the implementation. So a lot of, again, code reuse easily without any code changes required in the multiple different locations. A lot of interesting scenarios in here. Currently, this is in preview. Release candidate is actually probably going out later today, and then GA is happening pretty fast within upcoming weeks as well. So still in September. But to be able to understand what this is all about, let's do some Visual Studio coding. I haven't actually done practicing of this tutorial today, so let's see how this goes. But I'm pretty confident on myself, even though typically Finns are not that confident persons. Nothing wrong with Finns, but you know, I'm a Finn, and Finns has a certain culture of things how we do things. Anyway. If you're interested about the Finns and their culture, have a look on the Google. Now, what I have actually done already, and just to speed up the creation of the solution, is that I've used the Yeoman generator, and I basically, let me actually go in here, already scaffolded an existing SharePoint framework solution, and I chose it to be a adaptive card extension, and then I chose it to be a generic card template as well. So, and that scaffolding has completed. One thing, as we do have 15 minutes, I want to call out here, when you scaffold an SPFx solution, you do get a lot of warnings, all of that stuff, and you do get actually a few vulnerabilities. I cannot pronounce that term properly, and I do apologize on that. Now, you might be like, oh, 27 high issues. Now, these are not on runtime. These are only development time high issues, and what I mean with that one is that the packages which we're using for Yeoman generator or the project to serve local host are similar packages that would be security issues if they would be used in production as a server-side node packages. In our case, we're not doing that. we're running a node server as an HTTP server within our local host as a development time thing. So the fact that there's a denial of a service regex challenge with one of the packages, potentially for my development side box, does not count because nobody can actually cause challenge to be relevant. Just to call that out because that always comes as a discussion, but we can talk about that one in a separate setup as well. So I scaffold the solution. I actually had it running already. Let's do a no browser, and we can actually say gulp serve no browser means that I'm running that local node server and I'm serving that code, so I can easily do debugging in SharePoint Online. So let's come in here. Let's actually double check that everything is working properly. Let me do a refresh. We should be seeing a request coming up on the local host. There we go. Oh, and it actually does. Let's do that one more time. So we can actually see that the rendering is properly done. There we go. And now if I come here, we can say that I have the HTMLAs available there as a card, and then there's nothing there. It's just a default scaffolding from the Yeoman generator, so it's not yet doing anything as such. So we're going to modify that to be an HTML powered. So let's actually do that. So let me go here. Let me go then to the Visual Studio Code. And where is my right Visual Studio Code solution? There it is. So this is the SharePoint Framework solution. There's one default adaptive card extension already here. And right now, the quick view is actually adaptive card based. Adaptive card 1.5 doesn't really matter. But in our case, we kind of concluded that, well, adaptive card for this particular imaginary scenario is too limited. So I want to actually use HTML to render my quick view. So I need to do some modifications to make this happen. Now, we will do the modification primarily in a quick view TS, which right now it's basically inherits the base adaptive card quick view class, but we're going to actually inherit HTML quick view as the baseline, and that changes the dynamics. That changes really on what do we actually need to override and how do we need to look on things to happen. So now let me actually. Let's see what it actually, yes, it's actually, that's the extra interface. So let's get rid of that one because that's no longer suitable. Then it's actually complaining something else. It's saying, hey, you are actually missing the render method from this class. I cannot find it, so you cannot compile the code, or you cannot transcompile the code in this case, because from TypeScript to JavaScript on the server side. So we need to actually override the render method. Now, I will actually copy the code because I'm lazy. Well, not because I'm lazy, but still. So let me actually copy the render here. It's just easier. There's a chance of an exceptions or errors happening if I write all of this by myself. So I'm going to just copy that one. If you are familiar with the SPFx development, you can actually already detect that this is actually looking like the out-of-the-box web part experience in HTML. And I just created that as an example scenario for validating this, the implementation. And we don't actually need to have the template because that's no longer valid. We're not looking into adaptive card templates in this case. Watching clock, 11 minutes, I can do this. That's all good. So now we can actually see that this is referring to styles, which is not available. So we're looking into having styles, and what we want to have is the CSS SAS style definitions, because SAS is actually providing us additional value. So let me actually create my SAS definition here, adding a file. In the same way as I can do with the web part styles and SAS, I can absolutely do this in here. I'm going to copy the styling, what I have, and put it in here. And most likely to actually get the red sprinkles. No, we don't actually get it yet. But I can already see that this is an object. If I would now try to compile or transcompile, the Webpack would actually explain that, hey, I cannot find this particular fellow. This will not work. And that's because the Office UI Fabric core is not by default available within my packages, within my developer packages. So how we actually tackle that is quite simply installing that to be available within my solution. So let me do that. Let's do npm install and just that one over there. And that will then add that particular package, which will take care of the SAS transcompiling the CSS on runtime in here. Now, in my case, I did a mistake because that's actually stupid for me to do that, but that's fine. It's good to do this small mistakes potentially in here. Can you spot the mistake? I will call out the mistake. I forgot about actually explicitly telling that I don't want to have the GA version of the package. I want to have the beta version of the package. There's a few ways of actually now dealing with this situation, but most likely that should actually work. Let's do it. Let's test it out. That should be good. That should be good. So if this will not work, I do have my backup available because we already did the npm install. The packages are already in here, and cleaning up and all of that takes ages. But 1.19 should actually work with 120 beta with that particular package because there's no breaking changes. So we should be fine with that. I trust myself, so that should be okay. Never trust yourself in these things, but we'll see. Now let me go to quick view. Let me come in here. It's still complaining that the styles are missing, and that is missing because I'm missing the reference to the CSS class. So let me write here, import styles. That's the alias from, and it's actually giving me the right thing. And there we go. There is my quick view module CSS thing, and the naming is there. Now, you might be wondering, why is it actually having that red marker over there? That's because I have not yet compiled a runtime reference version of that CSS class. So it cannot actually do that until the first time you compile the SAS definition. Now I will do this and test this out. So now if I do call bundle, and I will know that this will fail, but that's by design. Thank you, Paul, for the for the comment. I will intentionally do a mistake. Am I actually do have a mistake here? Test the styles. So that's actually before. Let's do some cleanup from here so it doesn't actually do errors for us on that. Now it should no longer do the styles issue because it's actually resolved in here, but we should get one more exception. And this is semi-intentional, so we can talk about one small challenge which we have here. Now, if you are familiar with SPFx development, you might be familiar with this kind of an exception, which is something which is so incredibly painful. So if you're really into this stuff, with 1.19, we had a challenge. We upgraded our Webpack transcompiling engine to Webpack 5, and then there was a mistake internally within our code. The object-to-object error is incredibly frustrating because this means that I have a required somewhere a reference on an asset which is not yet available within a solution. Now, the object-to-object is not super helpful as the message for the end user to resolve the thing, and we're looking into getting all of that fixed. I will follow up again on the ownership of that one pretty soon, but the challenge is this one in here. Let me actually zoom in. I actually have a reference to welcome light PNG as a required, and that reference is not available, so it will result in object-to-object error, which is incredibly frustrating that it's not that, let's say, useful from an exception message perspective, but we're working on fixing that one for sure. Assets, and then I need to have that example image, and let me actually drag and drop that example image into assets, and we should be fine. Let me do call bundle. There's the beautiful, beautiful image, which I had taken from the web part, out of the box web part rendering. I didn't save. Didn't I save? My left hand is doing Control S all the time automatically. So that's leftovers from back in the mid-90s, whenever Office clients were not super reliable and it didn't have automatic saving. So my left hand is doing Control S automatically. So I don't know when I'm saving or when I'm not saving. But now you can actually see that it's doing properly, and the transcompiling worked. We did a bundle, and that means that I can do call serve --no browser, and we have 5 minutes. We're right on time as long as this works. If this doesn't work, I'm in a deep problems, but I think we're both fine. We should be fine. So we are again live reloading. We're serving from the local host. That's the node server, which is running locally within my dev box, which requires some of the dependencies and all of that. Again, none of those dependencies are getting shipped with this code when I package that to the production. So that's just for hosting the stuff in here. And now if I go to the workbench in my tenant, if I refresh, I think we still have one problem. If I now click quick view, oh, it's already rendering. Cool. I didn't have to actually do any changes over there. I was thinking on, do I actually have a action on the quick view? And was I supposed to update the action on a quick view? But now we are basically rendering the HTML format directly as we have it in the quick view as the render. Now, in this case, it is super simple HTML. It's almost like feels like a hack because we're just outputting HTML inside in the line of the code, and this looks horrible. But you could absolutely use React. You can use whatever framework what you want in JavaScript, and this will actually get rendered properly as well. So that's actually pretty simple way of getting started on using HTML-powered quick views. Also, just to call out, if I go, I think this will take me like 1 minute, so I still have plenty of time to close up the call on time. If I go to let's go to the Teams and let's go to the Viva connection from here. Teams loading, dancing. Teams loading. And oh, yes, it's been a while since I've been here. Okay, let me go to the Viva connection. Let's close this one. It's all in dark mode. And then in the out-of-the-box cards, we do have the OneDrive or the files card. I can't remember which one we actually chose that we're exposing as a card in the Viva connection. I haven't been there for a while, but if I go actually in here, let's actually do this in a quicker way. We do have the file card. So now if I go, that's a different card. File card. Do we have a file card? OneDrive card apparently is the card. So this card actually is using the same implementation style. So whenever you click the view more files, it is actually using the HTML quick view. So out of the box, we are using the HTML quick views as well to render this thing. Not that that would be explicitly needed, that you could have actually done that with adaptive cards as well, but it gets complicated. But you can, that kind of proves that we are using this by ourselves as well. Cool. I guess that's it for the demo, pretty much on time. I will take a few more minutes or 30 seconds to summarize what's available. So again, this is in preview in 1.20 beta. 1.20 release candidate, I think, comes out today or later this week, and then GA later in September. We do have a tutorial. I saw some linking challenges with those. I will need to double check that in docs right after this call, but we do have an existing sample which is doing exactly what I was doing today and calling out the different samples. But that's it for that particular demo focused on Viva Connection and HTML quick views.